Welcome to 100 Yards Football. Today I'm going to do something a little bit different. I'm going to talk college basketball because the college basketball season kicked off this week with a lot of major programs across the country. Everyone knows me. I'm Vincent Turner, that I'm a diehard football fan. But also, that's a second love for me. As people know, there's three teams I love. It's the Dallas Cowboys in the NFL. Baseball is the St. Louis Cardinals. I'm going to use the three major sports. In basketball, I don't really have a favorite team. But in college basketball, it's never going to leave me. I'm always going to be a Memphis State fan or University of Memphis. And the reason that I'm glad I'm doing this video, that I've been wanting to do this video on this young man for a long time, but I want to make sure the timing was right. And today I have an opportunity as I end our shooting today to talk about, in my opinion, one of the greatest individuals in the city of Memphis, Tennessee, where I was born, July 17, 1960. That gentleman on the screen, Larry Finch, changed the way I looked at sports and the way I became a sports fan. That guy right there means so much to me. When I talk about my athletes around Morse-Row, I talk about Muhammad Ali, Larry Finch. Them two right there stands above everybody else. And then John Carlos and Tommy Smith in track. 1968 Olympics. But I hope after this video today that I put out there, I hope everyone, especially the basketball fans in Memphis, all sports fans in Memphis, really take time out and pay kudos to the Finch family. Larry Finch did something that changed a lot of lives in Memphis, Tennessee. See, back April the 4th, 1968, the great Dr. Martin Luther King was assassinated in Memphis. And that changed the whole course of America. And especially, I was 7 years old at the time. I saw a lot of things that were very, very radical in my life. And I'll be honest with you, white people didn't get along with black people back during that time. It was so divided, it was unreal. And then when Dr. King was assassinated, it was at another level. But me being in a household to make me understand and make me proud to be an African American, understand to a point. And I think where I'm at today, I was so special to grow up in a household that had two wonderful parents that took me through that tough time. My mother, Vincent Turner, and my father, Chester, both who are still living. And anyone that grew up in the 60s during that time in Memphis, Tennessee, understands where I'm coming from. And I want to give kudos to my uncle, Opie Turner, who played a big role in my life. Because during that time, it was not nice in Memphis, Tennessee. But this gentleman right here was a high school basketball star out of Orange Mile. The number one player in the city. One of the tops in the state. Highly recruited. Everybody thought he was going to Oklahoma to play for John McLeod. And he made a decision. Because at the time, Memphis State at the time that we know it was not really kind to African-American athletes. Just like any other school in the South. Well, you said Alabama, Mississippi State, Ole Miss. But all the people close to Coach Finch, I'm going to call him Coach Finch today, was getting him to go out of town. But he had a vision. He saw there was so much rest, so much turmoil, so much hate. He said, if I could go to the hometown school and set a tone and win, I can bring this city together. See, that's the vision he had. And it wasn't easy because when he made the decision to go to Memphis State, he got a lot of flack from the black community. Believe that. But what he did, he attended Memphis State. I remember his freshman team only won, I think, 4 games. At the time, freshmen weren't allowed to play. His sophomore year, Memphis State went 18-8. Then his junior year. I want to get the dates correct, but February the 5th, 1972, that's when everything changed. I was in the 6th grade, attending Longview Elementary. And Memphis State went up to Louisville and Freedom Hall and beat a nationally ranked Louisville team, ranked, I believe, number 3 in the country. They had Jim Price, Henry Bacon, Mike LaHan, and Larry Finch, along with Don Holcomb, Ronnie Robinson, and Fred Horton, led Memphis State to an upset. And that changed everything about me following Memphis State at the time, in the University of Memphis, but Memphis State. And I became their number 1 fan. And I remember my parents don't even know this. I know they watch every week, but they used to be asleep in the other room. I used to sneak up, knowing I had school night, and go down to the den and watch the Tigers on WKNO Channel 10 and hear the great Fred Cook announce the game and hear Jack Eaton over the radio. I became a lover of Tiger basketball. I still am today. I've left the city, been gone since 1996. I'm down here in Douglasville, Georgia. I don't miss one play. I try not to, or one player that's played for that school. But Coach Finch brought pride in the city, kind of just like a volcano just came to one. And in that same season, they played number 1 Marquette in the Mid-South Coliseum, which was the home base, where the Tigers played their home basketball games and lost to Marquette by 1 point on a Lord Walton 40-foot jump shot. The Marquette team had Jim Jones. But getting back to the upset win in Coach Finch's junior year, the Tigers went on and finished 12-2 in the Missouri Valley along with Louisville. They had to play a playoff game because at that time, there wasn't no automatic bids. It was only 32 teams that got to the tournament. And I remember Louisville playing Memphis State in Nashville. The Tigers lost that game because they beat Louisville twice, but you can't beat a good team 3 times. Then me going as a 7th grader, going to Longview Junior High with all my friends in the neighborhood. Remember, at that time, your mind going, you don't even know basketball. But you know how people be out now, young kids. I'm like LeBron James. But I remember my friends, Cliff Miller, Lawrence King, Greg Lyons, Will Lyons, his brother, Gregory Porter, son of the great Stack legend, Mr. David Porter. We all pretended that we was Larry Finch and Ronnie Robinson. And that 72-73 team brought in a JUCO transfer by the name of Larry Keenan. And that year was probably one of maybe the most best sports year in my life cheering for a school. Them Tigers went all the way to the Final Four, man. And I remember them winning the Midwest Regional Finals. They beat a fantastic South Carolina team in the semifinals. That South Carolina team had Kevin Joyce, Brian Winters, Alex English, that's right, Mike Dunleavy, that's right. And they had a 7-footer by the name of Danny Traylor. And the Tigers beat them by 16. Then they went on and won the Midwest Regional Finals. Larry Finch put on the show. He had dog meat, Lon Kruger. That's right, Lon Kruger. Kansas State, former NBA coach, former coach, college coach, Florida, Kansas State. Then they went to the Final Four and beat a real good Providence team. Marvin Barnes got hurt. See, that was a big key for them beating Providence in the semifinals. The team that had Ernie DiGregorio and Kevin Staker. And then I remember they played UCLA for the national championship. The pulse that day when I went to school, me being in junior high, I heard all the school teachers talking about the game. Coach Bryce, head football coach at Longview Junior High. And we had gym class and everybody was talking. The black community was uplifted, but also the white community. And they were coming together. They did a 30-minute special on WMC-TV, Channel 5, still going on in Memphis before the game. And everybody was glued to that television. I remember that night in the St. Louis Arena, 19,000. Because St. Louis is only a 4-hour drive from Memphis. But what I remember, the Tigers were tied at halftime. And I remember calling my cousin at halftime, Edward E. Parson, who's now attorney down in Naples, Florida. I said, man, can you believe this? He said, Vinny, that's what they used to call me. It might happen. I said, Daddy, I looked at him, Chester Turner, do you think the Tigers can win? He said, all they got to do is hold their composure. But it took a game of ages, probably the greatest college football performance in really any basketball game on any level, Bill Walton. I don't like you, Mr. Walton, but I love you. I respect you. He went 21 and 22 from the floor. And he had to make every shot. UCLA went on to win that game 87-66. But what I remembered most of all, when the Tigers came home, there was 7,000 people at the Memphis International Airport. And I remember Larry Finch had that brim on, looking like John Shaw, the leather coats. And I looked, and they showed it live on TV back in Memphis, and all I could see was black and white coming together. And I thought about what that young man did by not going to Oklahoma and playing 4 years at Memphis State, how he changed the city. See, the politicians didn't change it. The Ford family, or Henry Loeb, or Wyatt Chandler, or Willie Harrington, or Dick Hackett. He was that gentleman right there. He loved the city, man. Loved the school. Got drafted in the 73 draft by the Los Angeles Lakers. Turned it down, didn't even go out there and try to make the team. He was a third-round draft. He wanted to stay in Memphis. He played for the ABA team, the Memphis Tams. To show you how much he loved the city. During that time when Coach Finch first got in coaching, he could have went anywhere, man, and became an assistant. Then he came back home when the university was in turmoil after the Dana Kirk scandal and really saved that program. Out of 11 seasons, he had 10 winning seasons. One Elite 8 appearance. One Sweet 16 appearance. But what he done, he brought his city together when he played. And then came back as a favorite son and loved the city like I do at this moment. And when you look at all the great players that's played at Memphis State and University of Memphis, that's from Memphis, they all went there because of Coach Finch and what he did the years from 1970 to 1973. We could talk about Keith Lee and Penny Hardaway, two great players of that program, but Coach Finch put it on the map. And think about all the players that's from the city of Memphis that's played at that great university. Elliot Perry, Tony Matlock, Penny Hardaway, Lorenzen Wright, Ronnie Robinson, Andre Turner, William Bedford, Leon Mitchell, Jeremiah Martin, Cheyenne Gibson, Antonio Burks, Chris Gardner, Cedric Henderson, Anthony Douglas, Michael Wilson, Rodney Newsom, Sean Williams, Ed Wilson, Bill Cook, Clarence Jones, Now Clarence Jones was from Alabama. But Baskerville Holmes, Marvin Alexander, Ernest Smith, Rodney Douglas, Smoke Holloman, Joe Jackson, Otis Jackson. All the high schools that he brought together, Whitehaven, White Station, Carver, Northside, Hamilton, Westwood, Mitchell, Craigmont, Raleigh, Egypt. Let me throw Jeremy Hunt in there. Militon, Tech, Overton, Marcus Moody. Coach Finch is responsible for that. He done a lot, man. He brought that city back together. Even though my hometown has a lot of problems right now, it still carried that pride of that year of 72, 73. And it was at a time when Coach Finch committed to that school that a lot of people wouldn't have done it. I would say 9 out of 10 players would have went somewhere else. But he had a vision. And he knew that could restore the city. And he knew that program could give the city of Memphis pride. And I'm very thankful and honored that I can go on today in my 62 years and still love that basketball program inside out. Make no bones, I do not like how the university done them. Fired him in 1997. But to show you he still had class about the university, he still, after he was fired, was still going out promoting the school. Never said a bad word. Maybe hurt, maybe bitter a little bit, but he loved that school, man. Look at the Mid-South Coliseum. Look at that picture. Larry Finch is the epitome of Memphis sports. And if anyone, native Memphian, that loves anything about sports, after you watch this video today, you'll give homage and kudos to the Finch family and his lovely wife, Vicky. Just send over a text or some on social media or reach out on Facebook and say, thank you. Thank you. Because he brought a city together, man, that was racially divided. And he turned it into the program he is today. John Calipari just took it to another level. Dana Kirk took it to another level. But the brand started with Coach Finch in that 72-73 team. How they made a real strong impression on a kid who was 12 years old, who listens to him roar, and that's me, Vincent Turner. Thank you, Coach Finch. Thank you, Ronnie Robinson. Thank you, Billy Bruford. Thank you, Wes Westfall. Thank you, Bill Laurie. Thank you, Bill Cook. Thank you, Clarence Jones. Thank you, Ken Andrews. Thank you, Jack Eaton, for being the greatest announcer I ever heard. Thank you, Fred Cook, greatest PA guy I ever heard. Thank you to the Mid-South Coliseum for making that place the best in all of America. And thank you one more time to Coach Finch and the University of Memphis basketball program. I know a lot of people talk about Coach Krzyzewski, granted. A lot of people talk about John Wooden, granted. Adolph Ruff, granted. But in my mind, where I come from, this gentleman right here started a program in a southern town that had a lot of problems and brought a group of people together that you would never thought would come together for one common cause to cheer that team on. Orange Mound in the house. Pine Hill in the house. Glenview in the house. Fairleigh High School in the house. Bunker Hill in the house. Alcee in the house. Scudderfield in the house. Frazier in the house. Valentine in the house. Whitehaven in the house. It was a sad day when Coach Finch passed in 2011. But you know how much love he had? Al Green, the original members of the Barcades, Al Capone, John Kaiser, and several prominent people in Memphis political history and athletic history was at his funeral. And I remember Coach Josh Pastner, who's now the head basketball coach at Georgia Tech, the words he said, hey, you can't change legends. No matter what Coach Finch does, he's always going to be remembered as the face of Memphis basketball. He loved that city. And he made me the sports fan I am today. I love that basketball program. Whether good, whether bad, it was just a sad day that he was fired in 1997. But he changed my life and put a smile on my life and made me proud that when I walked and left home as a 17-year-old, I could go up to Fayetteville, Arkansas, and I can say, hey, look at them Tigers down in Memphis. Or when I came to this area in 1996, the city of Atlanta, and I talked to other people, fans across the country from New York to California, Detroit, Chicago, and the first thing they say, hey, man, there's something down there in Memphis, man, that basketball program. I know my city has problems. There's no question about it. I know it's not on the level of a New York or Brooklyn, New York, or Cleveland, Ohio, or Los Angeles, California, or Las Vegas, even Dubai. But you know one thing I like about my city? It taught me honor, pride, and I was raised well in the ability to love people and treat people how you want to be treated. And that Southern pride, that Mississippi pride, that Arkansas pride, that's never going to go from me. I'm never, ever not going to treat people wrong. I'm going to treat people how they treat me, and hopefully they treat me well because I treat them well. It's all because as a 12-year-old, I started following the Memphis State basketball program, baby. And that gentleman right there changed my life. Coach Larry Finch is a player and as a coach, the greatest individual to ever step on campus over there at Southern Avenue. If you like the video today, please come in and share it. My final words about Larry Finch, the University of Memphis and Memphis State basketball, to all the great players, you know where I'm going, baby. Go Tigers, go! Go Tigers, go! Be blessed. And to all my people in the 901, stand tall, stand proud. Memphis, Tennessee, baby. Be blessed. 100 yards of football.